Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we are going over 5 premium ships that were, well, just too good for the game and had to be removed. Meaning they were removed from sale and you can no longer acquire these ships on any type of regular basis, meaning that these aren't ships that return throughout the year like the Black Friday ships. They've been removed from sale. You cannot regularly acquire them. That is the category for today's video, if you will. But in yesterday's video, we had a history video where we went over the adventures of the Missouri and the Wisconsin during the First Gulf War. So if you have an interest in that, make sure you check that out. Link to that will be up in the top right corner of the screen. But after that shameless plug, let's go ahead and get into number 5, and that is the Tier 9 Japanese battleship, the Musashi. Now, the Musashi is a pretty good Tier 9 premium ship because, well, the Yami is a good Tier 10 tech line ship. So when you shove it down to Tier 9, give it a Tier 9 premium economy, and it has, well, the Yami guns, the 18.1-inch guns that can overmatch 32 millimeters of armor. Yeah, it's a really solidly performing ship, and Wargaming knows that. So she was actually the, second or third, I believe, free XP ship in the game. This is the battleship that replaced the Missouri as the free XP ship. And that's how I managed to acquire my Musashi back in the day. So, what do you get, well, changed about her at Tier 9, shall we say? Well, you have less Sigma, you have less accurate guns, and you don't get the mountain of AA and secondary guns that the Yami does get. And of course, you don't get the legendary module either because it's a separate ship. So what you're stuck with is, well, a less accurate Yami that has even worse AA than the Yami already has, which the Yami doesn't have fantastic AA in the first place, right? So you're basically the CV's plaything when you're in the Musashi. By the way, I apologize for my background gameplay being absolutely terrible. My internet is having a stroke today, apparently, so there's moments in time where the ships in the background would just stop moving. That's my internet having a stroke for some reason. I don't know what's going on, but that's what was going on when I sat down to record this video, and unfortunately there's not much I can do about that, so I do apologize for that. But anyway, back to the Musashi. Other than that, it's pretty much the same as the Yamato, except of course with the Tier 9 premium economy, and that's of course a massively attractive thing for this ship. You have the big guns that don't care about armor, and it's got the economy where you can just print credits with it. That, and it is in Tier 9 matchmaking, meaning that if RNG does smile upon you, you could be fighting a friggin' Colorado in this thing, which is absolutely just the top level of SEAL clubbing, right? You know? So those are the two reasons why most players wanted a Musashi. Either they wanted to just absolutely bully Tier 7 ships, or they wanted her for the premium economy. And she was available for quite some time, but then she was removed as, you know, the Missouri was removed before her. And she's at number 5 because every now and then Wargaming will throw her up in the auction. And I've seen people absolutely just throw absurd levels of cash at the game trying to get the Musashi. I guess, you know, if Wargaming is in desperate need of cash, they put a Musashi auction up. They probably roll in like a few $1 million over the weekend in some cases. But yeah, she's really a really good ship. I don't think she's worth what you usually have to put up in the auction in order to acquire her, because it's just an absurd amount of money. I think last time she went for like $300 and something, which is just way more than you should be paying for any digital item in any game or any, you know, online space anywhere, right? $300 on something you can't even hold, something that's going to be useless once the game does eventually die, right? That's just absurd. But anyway, going down now to number 4, we have the Tier 9 Premium American battleship, the Missouri. How appropriate. So, the Missouri, as I just mentioned in the Musashi section, was the original free XP ship. How much free XP? A mere 750,000 free XP for the Missouri. That is just nothing in today's World of Warships. It's, man, inflation really do be a thing, don't it? Well, we don't even have free XP ships anymore, right? So, like, it's pretty hard to really tell. I guess you could consider the Research Bureau ships free XP ships, because you can theoretically round up enough free XP in order to acquire a Research Bureau ship in one go. But, yeah. So what is the Missouri? Well, very much like the Musashi, it's a copy-paste of another tech line ship. It's an Iowa with a radar, with a worse heel, and without a spotter plane. That is essentially what the Missouri is. In every single way, shape, and form, she is exactly the same as the Iowa. I think her internal armor is a little bit different, but it doesn't really make a whole lot of a difference between the two ships as far as the armor scheme goes. So obviously there is some very good utility to the Missouri, giving a Tier 9 battleship the 10-kilometer American radar. You can radar destroyers and smoke. In today's World Warships, you can radar submarines that are trying to be a little sneaky and get within 10 kilometers of you. So, I mean, radar is a very nice thing to have. And, well, the trade-off for that is that you do get the worse heel that used to be the standard heel for the American battleships. You see, a few years ago, the devs were very kind to the American battleship tech line, and they gave the line starting at the Colorado up an improved heel, because of the armor scheme of the ships and, the way the game had been developing with more and more big gun battleships at Tier 8+. It was a nice little buff to the American battleships. However, the Missouri did not receive this buff for whatever reason, mainly because she was still performing just fine in terms of one of the biggest things most players buy premium ships for, and that is her economy. You see, not only was the Missouri the first free XP ship in the game, she was the first Tier 9 premium ship in the game. So, the devs hadn't really figured out the Tier 9 premium ship economy yet, and they kind of, broke it with the Missouri. You see, even fighting terrible internet in the background match, and barely being able to do anything, I still made easy over, I think it was like 1.2 million credits in this match. And I think I finished with like 84,000 damage, and I think maybe a kill or two. So, just for tapping W, you make credits in the OG Missouri. Now, she did come back for a very brief time as another premium ship with its own separate economy from the OG Missouri. The ships are named the same in-game, the stats are tracked the same, but it's a separate ship. So there are technically two Missouris in-game. You have the OG Missouris, the ones that like older players like myself had, because I got her back in the day before we got the new Missouri. And then you have the new Missouri that is just a standard Tier 9 premium battleship that is, in all ways a worse Iowa with a radar, because it doesn't get that improved heel. So, yeah. But, I mean, it's a really cool historical ship. Obviously, players have been waiting for her to come back because of that. She was briefly reintroduced, and I really don't know why they don't bring her back more often now, because, I mean, it's not something like the Musashi where it's too overtuned as far as, gameplay-wise goes, right? And they fixed the economy, so it's just really odd that they haven't, really brought her back in a more normal way just yet. I keep thinking they're going to do it for the 4th of July event, but nope. So, but yeah, Missouri, that's Missouri. If you ever do manage to pick one up, it's premium Iowa, so there you go. And it has a radar. Alright, going down now to number 3, we have the Nikolai, the Tier 4 Soviet battleship. The Nikolai is, it's just good. It's got some nice, accurate guns compared to other Tier 4 ships. And unlike a lot of Soviet battleships, if you notice, 3 of the 4 turrets face forward. Meaning that, unlike, again, other Soviet battleships, like the one that comes to mind right now, October Revolution or the Gangut, where you have, for some reason, turret number 2 faces backward. I'm sure there's, obviously some real-life reason as to why that is a thing. Well, in real life, too, of course, battleships, they didn't really angle. You just showed your broadside to one another, and you hoped your broadside armor was thick enough to not get obliterated by the enemy ship. They didn't really do the whole bow on angling, trying to get the guns at the sharpest firing angle that they could and all that jazz. But for the game's purposes, having those 3 turrets facing forward is quite nice with the accurate guns that the Nikolai doth have. And when you have accurate guns and you have 12 of them down at Tier 4, I mean, it's just a party all the way around. Not even mentioning that it actually does have some pretty decent secondaries on it, which is really, out of character for most Soviet battleships. And you still get, of course, the good Soviet battleship armor, and you get, of course, the ability to plap Kuznetsov on your Nikolai as well. You get that, that free heal and that free damage con to top it all off. So it's a really tanky Tier 4 battleship. It's got accurate guns, and it's a premium ship too. Now, that's important because Tier 4 and below, that is where, well, really Tier 5 and below, that is where the game does fill out the roster with bots. So, you can absolutely just bully the living crap out of bots and farm with your Nikolai if you're lucky enough to have one, to just like your heart's content because of how good the ship is, how good and accurate the guns are, how consistent the guns are, and how tanky it is. The guns do have a 35-second reload time, so that does kind of suck, but I mean, like, hey, when you're actually landing most of your shots, it's very much worth it, especially as far as like Tier 4 battleships are concerned. And it's a premium ship too, so moving commanders on and off of the Nikolai is completely free, so you can plop down your 21-point commander on your Nikolai and go bully the crap out of bots. You see, back in the day, before Wargaming populated Tier 5 and below with bots, you would just go bully actual people with your Nikolai back in the day. So it's bots now, but it's still random battles. You get the random battles economy, the Tier 4 premium economy, and again, all the goodies that we get off the Nikolai. So that's why she is just a very, very sought after premium ship. I think actually you can't get the Nikolai in any way, shape, or form anymore. I think the last place you could get her were in super containers and Santa containers, and I believe she has been removed from both now, so she's just outright not available. I think she might, I think they're adding her back into the Soviet containers. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I think besides that, she's just unobtainable right now. Something that isn't unobtainable, and you can still maybe get today, is our number 2 slot, which is the Tier 3 German battleship, the Konig Albert. So the Konig Albert, well, it's a Kaiser down tier to Tier 3. So you have Tier 4 armor at Tier 3 with Tier 4 guns and Tier 4 HP. That's a lot. You know what else you get at Tier 3? Protected matchmaking. Because you cannot get double up tiered until you get to Tier 5. So Tier 3, your maximum you're going to see at Tier 3 is Tier 4. And you're in a Tier 4 battleship anyway. So, who cares, right? And, well, I mean, again, it's a Kaiser at Tier 3. So, you literally, I don't think you can be citadeled in the Konig Albert. You can sell broadside to anything that you want to. I mean, you'll eat damage, right? But you won't get citadeled like you would if you were, a normal Kaiser in a Tier 4 in a Tier 4 slot, seeing Tier 5 ships and all that jazz. So it's just an absolute bully of a battleship. And again, like the Nikolai, Tier 5 and below is populated by bots, and bots, Wargaming has improved them quite a bit over the years, but at the end of the day, they're still bots, and you can pretty much tell what they're doing. It's really weird what the bots will fire at sometimes. You might be right in front of them, but because you have more HP than a target that's 10 kilometers behind you, they'll focus on the target 10 kilometers behind you instead of you right in front of them. So once you figure out how the bots kind of think and kind of work, you can really bully them with the Konig Albert, again, very much so like the Nikolai. And it's the rare German overpowered ship. A lot of the overtuned ships tend to be Soviet, French, and American. It's not so often that we get a German ship that's absolutely cracked like the Konig Albert. Oh, and she's got some pretty good secondaries too. They only have a 5-kilometer range, but I mean, like, at Tier 3 levels, right, it's fine. They can get, their hits on target. And when you're 5 kilometers away, even with the most inaccurate secondaries, you're getting some shells on target. They're starting some fires. And you can put Lucians on Konig too, so you have all the goodies of Lucians as well on this Tier 3 battleship. So again, very much like Nikolai, she's a Seal Clubber, OG Seal Clubber. You can get her in the, the Jutland containers, I do believe, is what she's available in the premium ones and in the non-premium ones. You do have to go through a bit in order to acquire her either way. So she is technically still available, but I'm not sure, if throwing away either all your resources or your doubloons into those containers is really worth it at this point. But you could still potentially pick her up if your luck is good enough. That brings us on down now to number 1, which is the Tier 7 British light cruiser, the Belfast. The Belfast is it's a pretty interesting little ship. You see, what makes this ship so crazy is that at Tier 7, she has just insane insane levels of utility and firepower. This is a Tier 7 light cruiser that has smokescreen, hydro, and radar all available all the time. You don't have to pick and choose what you do and what you don't want to take. You get all of it at one time, on top of having a very nice set of main battery guns that really don't have any problems at all setting fires. You're just going to bully DDs with these guns too, by the way, with how comfortable they are to shoot. You do get HE and AP. You know, this is the rare, well, back in the day, the rare British light cruiser that does get HE, because there's a very wise man, a very, very wise man at Wargaming that saw the Minotaur and said, you know what, I don't think we can give this line HE shells because that's just a little bit too much. I don't know where that man's at anymore, but man, I want him to come back, you know? But this was the British light cruiser that could get HE, on top of, again, smoke, radar, hydro. So this is like a DD's worst nightmare, or like other light cruisers' worst nightmare back in the day. Again, keep in mind, this is all at Tier 7. Tier 7. We have Tier 8, 9, and 10 cruisers that don't have this much utility bolted to their decks, but the Belfast does. And, well, again, because of that, she was pulled from sale, and you can't really pick her up anymore unless you get really lucky in a super container. God, how did I get this ship? I think I got her in a Santa container, actually, which is the other place that you can potentially pick her up. Every now and then, for certain event containers, they will throw her in there. I think, well, I can't remember the last event that featured the British ships, but I think she could potentially be snagged in there. They did add in a successor to her, you know, was it the Belfast 43? Definitely did not capture the same, you know, power of the Belfast because of how powerful the Belfast is at Tier 7. And I believe that one is still available, but unfortunately Belfast is not. It's really interesting too that, you know, Belfast is a very old premium ship, yet she hasn't really been power crept that much because obviously giving, you know, ships high degrees of utility at Tier 7 isn't really healthy for the game balance, and again, that's why Belfast was removed in the first place. But, you know, we've seen ships like the Stalingrad, which are insanely powerful, slowly get power crept over time to where they go from being insanely powerful to just kind of, you know, good. The Belfast is still very, very powerful. Of course, having all that utility at Tier 7 is kind of nuts. She doesn't really have a problem at all holding her own in Tier 9 games, which she, of course, can get up Tier 2 because she is a Tier 7 ship. And the match you're watching in the background right now, it's a Tier 9 game, and I do just fine in it. And I'm not the world's the world's best light cruiser player by any stretch of the imagination, but again, as you can see in the performance in the background, ship doesn't really have much problem at all, doing well for a Tier 7 cruiser in a Tier 9 game. So guys, those are my top 5 removed premium ships. Let me know what you guys' are in the comments down below. What would you remove from the list? What would you add to it? And, you know, all that jazz. Let me know that in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful Monday, wonderful rest of the week. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.